start with the introduction of the panel because time is a bit short. So, as you have witnessed, all the panelists, I'll start with Vikram. Vikram is an esteemed entrepreneur whose illustrious career spans over 2 decades. An active voice in Web3 industry, Vikram serves as an esteemed advisor to the board of Encrypto, a pioneering Web3 wallet startup. He is a driving force behind his company Entier, a premium blockchain consulting firm serving global enterprises. Entier has cultivated extensive enterprise in application development across more than 20 Layer 1 and Layer 2 blockchain platforms. Notably, the company is pioneering the integration of metaverse ecosystem with decentralized finance, unlocking the financialization potential of the burgeoning sector. Furthermore, Vikram is dedicated to elevating resource scarcity in blockchain industry. True to his long-standing practice of upskilling and reskilling, he is diligently working towards establishing a world-class blockchain academy. A passionate advocate of blockchain, he actively promotes thought-provoking discussions surrounding the limitless possibilities of this transformative technology. Ladies and gentlemen, Vikram. Kamlesh Nagware is our CTO of Snapper Future Tech and is a twice TEDx speaker. He's among top 30 influencers of blockchain in India, founding member of India Blockchain Forum. He is Hyperledger India co-chair and a member of Hyperledger Technical Steering Committee. Also, blockchain mentor at APIARY Blockchain COE, which is STPI and Ministry of Electronics and IT Initiative, and advisor to Web3 tokenization, CBDC, and startup globally. Kamlesh, a round of applause, please. Colonel Inderjeet Singh is alumnus of IIT and doctorate in cybersecurity from Lagos University, Florida. He has more than 30 years of experience in a variety of areas related to cybersecurity, such as cyber warfare, cyber terrorism, cyber forensic, OT security, and swaying government policy in numerous organizations. He has advised organizations to use digital transformation technology that will move organizations forward in formulating and putting into practice cybersecurity solutions using extensive experience and in-depth expertise. He has spoken at TEDx events twice. He is subject matter expert on darknet forensics and crypto forensics. Additionally, he has been actively working on Web3, blockchain, and metaverse cybersecurity and data privacy solutions. He is most influenced thought leader in blockchain for the year 2021-2022 and top 50 innovator leaders last year, 2023. Colonel Inderjeet for you guys. Prasanna Lohar to my left. He is CEO of Blockstack and founder of India Blockchain Forum. He is an award-winning banker, digital architect, industry innovator, a board member, fintech influencer, startup mentor, and leadership coach. With over 23 years of experience at all levels in engineering, management, and innovation as CXO, he has worked globally for banks, fintech, microfinance, engineering, and multinational companies for digital and architectural transformation. He is closely associated with cutting-edge technology adoption, strategy, assimilation, experimentation, innovative customer servicing and engagement, robust architecture implementation, fintech and startup alignment, open innovative practices, ecosystem collaboration with government, big tech, fintech, bank, and academia. Prasanna for you guys. And last, we have Swapnil on the panel, who is the founder of Advanced Statistical and Quantitative Analysis Technologies. Swapnil is a IIT Mumbai and IIM Ahmedabad alumni. He is a technology and finance professional with over 19 years of professional experience with expertise in blockchain, sustainability, and corporate finance. He is author and written 2 books on macroeconomics, namely Anatomy of Froth and Rethinking Money and Capital. So we have now moved from the introduction. We'll go to the topic per se, which is bolstering competitive advantage using blockchain. So I'll start with my first question with Vikram ji. Vikram ji has led a blockchain technology services company. So he's the right person to answer how his journey has been as a blockchain technology provider and what all use cases that he sees getting traction across the world because his clientele is global. Vikram ji.
Thanks for having me here. So, like regarding our journey, so I think we started kind of like towards blockchain in 2016, end of 16, start of 17, and the initial years were like a more of a retail-heavy use cases, like kind of like developing the wallets, the exchanges, the NFT marketplaces, as we evolved with this space, right? And over the years, what we have seen, like the real world asset tokenization are getting a lot of momentum, especially with the kind of like use cases on these like public blockchains as well. So which one of the like clients we are working with, they are leading one of the leading investor in US, so building the same kind of use case where kind of like they've been able to kind of save more than 80% of the cost towards the kind of like the custody solution, the risk management, and all sort of like the supply chain over the kind of like this asset tokenization part. So one thing, and the other thing, like where we are seeing a lot of traction is the in the healthcare space. So we are also working with the one of the state in UAE, where we are putting the kind of like healthcare records onto the blockchain. And similarly, another traction which we are seeing, like which is happening, currently, like we are working with the one of the city in UAE, I would say Saudi Arabia, like where we are doing something like DigiLocker for them, over the blockchain. So the things are evolving, like moving from the retail space to the more enterprises use cases.
So, what are you finding in terms of adoption of blockchain technology? Is it improving in terms of how the governments and are looking at this technology per se, or there are still challenges in most of the geographies where your clientele is based?
So, if we like look at it from the global perspective, like Singapore, Dubai, UAE, all these kind of like countries have been very welcoming to blockchain. They rather like use it as a USP, like to attract the talent and as well as like kind of like grow their economy, I would say. Governments in India, I would say they are also very proactive towards the blockchain, because we are still facing the challenge wherein like crypto and blockchain goes hand in hand, like very difficult for people to understand the separation, the difference between the crypto and the blockchain, right? So I would say like blockchain is not a kind of a disruptive technology. It is basically a foundational technology. And for any foundational technology to get into the mainstream, it's a journey, actually, journey of 15 to 20 years, or maybe even bigger than that, I would say. We can draw a very good example through the adoption of this email. When the email was invented, it was in 1972. But it was only when WWW, World Wide Web, was invented when it got mainstream, right? Because things were not ready to adopt that kind of innovation, TCP/IP, like when people could not believe that the data can be transported over digital networks, right? But and the telecom company at that point of time had already laid infrastructure, like cable kind of infrastructure, where like two points has to be connected before a call could be made. So for the companies to understand that the challenges and the nuances which was required to kind of like how to implement the TCP/IP, it took them like 10 to 15 odd years, right? When they actually started building internal use cases on the using TCP/IP kind of internet kind of operations, and then they actually understood, right, and starting experimenting with those use cases. So similarly, blockchain, when you look at the adoption, so goes through the same kind of phase. I think we are into the 15th year of the kind of like into the blockchain. When the Bitcoin was invented, only when we came to know about the blockchain. Before that, nobody was aware about what is the blockchain, right? So I would say like the time has come now where like people have started experimenting a lot, and the challenges are more towards like how we can retain the Web 2.0 experience and build the the Web 3.0 infrastructure, underlying infrastructure under the blockchain application. At the same time, like since we are also kind of like running an academy wherein we intend to kind of like make India as the blockchain capital of the world. Our kind of kind of request to each and every state government and even the center government, like don't treat it as a kind of like a elective subject. It is a foundational technology. It has to be part of every course curriculum For example, the way you teach databases in the colleges, you have to just teach a TLT. That's it, and that's what blockchain is about. That's my views on that.
All right, Kamlesh, I will like to hear your view on how has the technology evolved over the last decade, and what do you think future in terms of how it's going to mature as we go forward?
Yeah. So thanks for having me here. So I divide technology evolution in three segments. So first is like technology wise, like in the earlier time is the Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. Then we seen the like new protocol emerge like Ethereum, Algorand, and other chains, and then private blockchain like Hyperledger, R3 Coda, all this started. And now we see the combination hybrid blockchain, interoperability on between the blockchain, cross-chain communications, all is happening. This is the first part. Second part, I see like how the use case is evolving, right? When we start with like only the basic kind of cryptocurrency is the first use case, and then we started moving, let's say, traceability, and then it's digital identity, and now we're talking about the CBDC and real world asset tokenization, sustainability kind of use cases. So this is so we evolve in the use case, like thinking beyond the just crypto and tokens. And third, like adoption and maturity of the understanding. So even when I started in 2016, it's very hard to explain someone and convince someone what is blockchain and how is it useful for them. But now people have understanding. Maybe we can give credit to the organizing committee like be the Business World or maybe Forbes or other communities, bringing the awareness in the ecosystem and having this kind of panel discussion across the platform. Now people understand, even like suppose even without knowing, like for example, like I'm also one of the CBDC pilot user, and also I use the DigiYatra, and you surprised to know both are based on blockchain. So the technology evolving, and now we are not just thinking about a concept; it's much beyond that.
Thank you. A follow-up question I'll ask is that there is a convergence of other emerging technologies happening. So how do emerging technologies such as AI and IoT complement blockchain to drive further business transformation?
So I think even in the previous panel, I hear about all the people like they've been saying about you should focus the problem, solving a problem, not on the technology perspective. So whether IoT, whether generative AI or AI, could add value to the solving a problem, but it's not necessary we use all combination. But like say in traceability and supply chain, we can use the IoT and blockchain combination. For curated data or the trusted data, we can use the AI and blockchain together. So it's depend on totally on the use case and what value you're driving via the adding the blockchain and other emerging technologies together.
So like Vikram says, it's a foundational technology. It'll be part of almost every solution, and it'll work with other emerging technologies as well.
Yeah.
Inderjeet, so how does blockchain enhance cybersecurity and data integrity? Because a lot of this thing is there regarding how will the evolution of cyber threats and cybersecurity will happen when blockchain is introduced in solutions.
Yeah. Thanks, BW Business World, and thanks for the introduction. It's really wonderful to be with all of you today. And very interesting question, because we always think the cybersecurity is the last resort when we get hacked. And that's what we do in blockchain also. Though we call blockchain as the most secure, and all over you read that there are no hacks going to happen, it's hack proof. But give you the numbers, there are already 43 exchanges which have been hacked till date, the bigger exchanges. There are 49 DeFi protocols have been hacked, right? And they're almost $2.8 billion have gone. And just remember, it's a piece of code, and any piece of code which is a software is hackable, right? And whatever your guys who design the blockchain architecture, they never think of the security because they don't understand the security loopholes. We talk of smart contracts. I hope everybody understands that. There are more than 100 plus ways you can hack a smart contract, right? So it's all hackable today. It's only that since there are so many blockchain, hackers are busy hacking the other networks. Just don't be surprised, they'll be hacking this as well. Because there are so many blockchains, there are 8,000 type of blockchains which are all roaming on that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are all put together. They need to have energy to have, because while we talk of all the blockchain as decentralized, they have a limitation of nodes. Somebody has got 1400 nodes, somebody has got 800 nodes. They're more of a centralized rather than being a decentralized, I'll put it that way. So just wait for the hackers to work on it and hack you. And most of the hacks which have happened, they're being hacked because of the code vulnerabilities which were there, or the insider. And if you look at the variables which are there to hack a particular blockchain, starting from your smart contract, to your wallet, to your network, to your node, to your application layer, to your software, everything is hackable. Just see how complex the overall network is of blockchain, when it comes to the security paradigm is concerned. So it's not easy to secure a blockchain. Though we always say of 51%, you have to have the nodes which are to be overpowered. It may happen good for the Bitcoin, but if it is a small blockchain, it's got limited number of nodes, you can do that, right? So there are things which are happening. Spear phishing is already there in it. There are attacks, there are code vulnerability which are there. There is all kind of OWASP vulnerabilities, the OWASP vulnerabilities which are there are all part of the problem statement of blockchain. So not that it's all good, it's also bad. So one has to really think of the blockchain security part of it, because I do advise a lot of companies on the blockchain security aspect, and believe you me, it's never been thought at the time of overall architecture. And every time you tinker architecture of a blockchain, where is the dependency which is there going to be because of the code, you never know. And just remember, all the codes are not perfect. All the codes which you write are not the perfect which you write first time. It may be solving your business application, but it has got its own dependency on something else. And that dependency on something else is a vulnerability on that particular thing. Okay, so it may be a bug further. So that is how it really works. So software application, and the kind of code checks are the most important, which we don't do. We only think my blockchain application is doing this, but we really forget whether the code vulnerability we checked upon, right? So these are the points which are very important. Data integrity, yes, it is. The blockchain gives a data integrity. It gives a security because of the cryptographic algorithm, and lots of questions which do come, while I was in the earlier panel. And just want to ask you, where is the blockchain? Everybody talks of blockchain. Where is the blockchain? Can you see a blockchain? The answer is no. It's a cryptographic key. And you're going to be working the same way you're working today in next 5 years, right? But only thing is, everything is going to be coded with that cryptographic key. It's going to, that's going to give you the data integrity, what we talk of. You use the DigiYatra app. Do you know there's a blockchain? So that's a key. You don't come to know. But that's the algorithms which keep working at the back end. That's the power of blockchain. And whether we have to go to the masses, I'm just jumping the question of the last panel. Whether we go to the masses, the answer is yes. Okay, and there is already the policies in place, things in place. We are seeing land record management happening. We are seeing seed to farms which are happening. We are seeing the healthcare getting onto the blockchain. So everything is moving. It's only just a matter of time. I think, to my estimation, 2028, 2029, we're going to see the paradigm shift when it comes to the blockchain getting a reality, how the way we are using it. Thanks.
Thank you, Inderjeet. Prasanna, next question is to you. Can you briefly sum up various initiatives taken by the Indian banking sector? Because that is one place where this technology has been gaining ground. And what do you see the outlook of banks, especially Indian banks, compared to global banks? Where are we heading in terms of adoption of this technology, per se, in the banking sector?
I think good question. I think the way we have seen the research or the numbers, I think financial sector has adopted at least 60 to 65% of use cases globally. That's a huge traction around blockchain. And when we talk about any sector, example banking, why do we want to do blockchain? That's another question comes, right? Before seeing what banks are doing. So typically we have seen the banking behavior, let's take last 30 years from brick and mortar model, ATM, POS, to the new age internet banking after 95, where KYC has become norm in 2004, and various research things by RBI has said that apart from internet banking, can we not do mobile banking on top of again internet. So as Vikram ji said, foundational technology changes a lot. So internet has changed a lot to the banks. So while we have adopted internet back in our last 15 plus years, we have seen internet banking, mobile banking, various other models with the fintech banking. Banks always look at what next to do for their customers in India, varieties of customers, varieties of generations. And they always look at how they are doing banking. So I think starting from your brick and mortar to the digital banking, we are slowly moving towards intelligent banking. So wherein your customer has become intelligent, customer is expecting a lot everywhere, wherever he wants, you want to do banking. So that's what banks always look at, what more they can do, provide to the customer. And when you talk about to the customer, it becomes on the front side, where customer is interacting with your channels, say ATM, POS, internet, mobile. And while you are enforcing services onto the channel, starting from customer onboarding, customer servicing engagement, we need to do what is that you are bringing on the back end also. While we had RDBMS in the back end, now we look at how AI plus blockchain can become fuel of providing better services. Now, again, if you go back and see various regulations built on by RBI, second factor authentication, reporting of a fraud, and many others, I think the technology like blockchain comes and creates another way to remove all these controls, right? We do not need all these controls which we have created on mobile banking, internet banking, because it's another foundational tech. So while doing this, again, banks look at whatever banking we have done with Malla's kind of experience or Modi's kind of experience with NPAs, so much of operations. So example, every transaction which happens in bank, it has to go to a settlement cycle next day. These are all banking we have created last 30, 40 years. So opportunity for a bank is that what more we can do as a part of an intelligent banking backed by AI and blockchain. So there comes banks with a lot of use cases, right? So wherein they will look at a customer onboarding experience. Suppose today, if I onboard a customer to HDFC Bank, and it takes typically 5,000 to 10,000 rupees to onboard a customer, considering KYC norm, Aadhaar, eKYC which uses. Now, if this customer says, I am not happy, he will go to the ICICI Bank. Again, ICICI Bank will invest so much of amount on current internet banking, where we say we are so much digital savvy. What does it mean? It means just imagine crores of customers are just wasting money for all of these banks as a consortium. Their blockchain comes and says, yeah, you can onboard a customer once and that KYC is immediately available to all the other banks with less of a cost. And the model could be second bank has to incentivize the first bank. So that's one use case I talk, which can really make a lot of a better economy. And likewise, we can identify more 50 plus use cases, reporting of a fraud to RBI, uptime or downtime of any of the system. There are a lot of roles. Reporting of a fraud to RBI, and that reporting data goes to another banks and NBFCs. Typically, that process takes 45 days. And imagine so many such fraudulent customer will create account and take a loan, and that bank will go NPA. Blockchain comes and says, report a fraud that immediately is available to another bank next moment or maybe at least second day. I think that's what, to look at what is happening in a banking ecosystem. Many banks have done their silos adoption like ICICI with Emirates NBD, Nepal SBI to SBI India for a foreign remittance. We have seen Yes Banks with Bajaj Electrical for supply chain, or Axis Bank on a trade. Likewise, DCB Bank of opening some internal ATM. So I think every bank has their own journey. We have seen bank chain coming in 2017 to bring on 36 players to come together around 21 use cases. A little bit of a learning experience, because blockchain comes and says who will operate that whole consortium, right? Who will take care of the data between two banks. So that's what EBIC has formed in Indian context, Indian Banking Blockchain Infrastructure Company back in 2018. I think it is getting operational with the LCBG. I think you will see in the next 3 to 4 months, they will announce something around LCBG, trade finance kind of internal use cases. That's a adoption of Indian this per se. Now CBDC is another use case, right? Like we have seen every transaction which you do on POS or e-com or ATM, it undergoes the settlement cycle, because this is how we have created that trusted ecosystem, so-called NPCI, MasterCard, Visa. Now imagine we talk about Uber, MasterCard, Visa, make a money out of every transaction. For what purpose? Because this is how we have created intermediaries in between. Blockchain comes and Bitcoin, the way it operates without intermediary. Like Inderjeet was saying, Bitcoin is a small scalable use case. Bring on CBDC, which is a large scale countrywide use case, and imagine every country is working on their CBDC, and tomorrow your cross-border trade will be happen on the spot, right? So there we require a lot of scalability. That's another use case where this additional leg of settlement, which is a manual, which is error prone, which is around many disputes, automatically all this control which Reserve Bank or any central banks created will be vanished because of this foundational tech. Now this is a time for banks to come together and say which are those other 30-40 use cases apart from CBDC, apart from fraud detection, or apart from trade finance, cross-border payment, right, or tokenization. What more is going to come as a part of a new business model? Go back in 90s, was there any different kind of loans? It was just a loan. Today we have BNPL, embedded finance, many more on top of internet. Likewise, next 3-4 years, while we move from intelligent era to autonomous era, which is backed by 5G, which is backed by metaverse, backed by IoTs, where IoT metaverse will take shape of a mobile as an interface. And again, you require another high scalable blockchain, which will bring on a lot of actors coming together. Frox Pro, which is a standalone to client server to the I would say network-based banking is going to happen. This is what everybody knows, because banking is moving from brick and mortar to the marketplace banking with the fintechs coming into picture. Now there also we require a lot of trust. Like India is blessed with a lot of public digital platforms like UPI, ONDC, or account aggregator, and all of these are marketplace banking. And similar thing which EU or there are many other countries, geographies are adopting. So when we talk about bringing security frauds less or bringing those controls, so automatically we look at AI and blockchain together, how we can really look at those use cases. And these use cases are being driven by Indian context. EBIC is driving along with RBI. Imagine RBI is doing Harbinger kind of hackathons to bring on a scalability, interoperability on a CBDC, or there are many more things will come. IFSCA, where I think Snapper and some of the Indian companies are part, where they are looking at how tokenization can become a model, where they are given a room for JP Morgan's OINX to bring on other 4 banks to be part of this digital asset kind of pilot, proof of concept pilot. Now, when you go back in 90s or 2008, where smartphone come into picture, or 2023 year onwards, we are moving towards metaverse, digital asset tokenization. For sure, there will be many more different financial instruments will happen. So banking will not remain within one nation, but I think cross-border trade. How can I do the transaction between one bank to US to here? So more and more instant payment or real-time payment, not only for retail, but corporate will bring on. So I think good to see that apart from RBI, SEBI also doing some kind of exercise. Account aggregator slowly is going to come on a blockchain. We could see SMS systems today, whatever SMS you receive on a blockchain, Try is already larger use case. So that way, I think a lot of momentum is happening, and you will see all these use cases will really take a banking to the next paradigm. What is it by next paradigm? The kind of controls which you have created on this Web 2.0 banking will be nullified. Like, say example, tomorrow's banking will be without password. You don't have to remember so many passwords or OTPs, right? Because that's how it will bring a digital identity. Whenever you're born, you're already on blockchain. You just have to give a consent. How much KYC you need to share and for how long. Today, your KYC, you go to the bank bazaar or airport, you just easily give your documents, right? And you easily give your Aadhaar also to any hotel. How do you control your data, right? So while GDPR is coming, or India data protection bill is coming, so it's going to be very, very important to make your banking easy. The banks and the customer who is operating in that paradigm, where data governance, data privacy, data integrity is going to be very, very important. I think these days some of the big tech companies are paying a lot of fees, or there are a lot of penalties are given only for data protection. Blockchain brings a zero trust organization. It gives opportunity for a whole world to operate without any of the frauds. or any of those security, I think those will be minimized. So rather looking what use cases Indian banks or banks are looking at, we need to see how this time, which will bring on your front, which is of interfaces. Tomorrow's interfaces like IoT will do car, your car will do their own transactions, or your electricity will pay off their own bills. How? Because of some smart contract, right? So banking will move to the non-banking world where the same customer is going to do many other services. So it's very, very important to see how metaverse or invisible interfaces will have an intelligent bidirectional banking. Before customer comes, bank should know for what purpose he has entered in the bank branch, or for what purpose he is doing that banking. So I think that kind of a intelligent banking will appear. And if you say it is not possible, go back in 95 and see what has happened in the last 20 years. Unimaginable experiment we have seen, UPI or many other Aadhaar, and imagine what is going to happen next 15 years, and that is why we need to be ready for this emerging tech combination, IoT, AI, big data, or ABCD kind of a combination will bring on. I think as a larger view, regulator today, the way I have done my first session back in 18 on blockchain, or 19 on CBDC. And that is why RBI has announced, yes, they are going to come up with many other use cases. Today, RBI has given mandate to IDRB2 to work on 5G and blockchain use cases. They have given a mandate for RBI fintech unit they have to adopt a lot of blockchain adoption. They are talking to consultant, they are talking to the influencer, how the way mobile banking came, it come up with a lot of guidelines. How metaverse banking is going to come, it will come up with the guidelines next year. Or it will going to come up with a lot of guidelines with all these Web 3.0. So people may say RBI doesn't talk about crypto, but take my words, they study hard, they look at what all those nuances, what is meant by digital assets, they really work closely with all the ecosystem, and whatever they come up, it is aligned with a better banking tomorrow. Because better banking yesterday was in brick and mortar, today it could be on mobile, tomorrow it's going to be very unimaginable experiences. Typically everywhere you go, that banking will happen. So I think it will be always fueled by this foundational tech, right, Vikramji, the way it said. I think it's a different things which we'll see, different business models, micro insurance, micro loans, the way we have not seen. I think that will, your insurance based upon how you drive the car, how you live. So many more business model will come, and these business model require immediate impact or immediate throughput or immediate response that can happen on a smart contract based. While it is at a nascent stage, a lot of quantum computing or a 5G will make it more better, right? So that's how I look at Indian banking or a blockchain adoption in a banking sector per se, and it's a good momentum because all the actors like banks, regulator, corporate, service providers are working on this common vision. Yeah.
Thank you. Swapnil, my next question is to you. How does the choice of blockchain differs across the consideration of value transfer versus data auditability? You come from a statistical background, so this question is for you.
Yeah, so when blockchain started, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all others, it's generally about transferring value. You're transferring real valuable assets worth, say, $1, $10, whatever. CBDC is basically a culmination of that, or stable coins before that. But there is another use case of blockchain which is more enterprise-like, you might think, which is auditability. The whole point of traceability from farm to fork, or even before farm all the way to your table, or carbon credits, their meta registry, or authentication of ingredients of a pharmaceutical drug and so on. These use cases aren't about transferring value. You aren't actually sending money somewhere. You're actually ensuring auditability of some data. Now that use case is very different from value transfer. Because in value transfer, you're essentially saying, how do I disintermediate a bank or facilitate a bank's work? Whereas in data transfer, you're saying, how do I keep it quote unquote notarized? And so Ethereum or Bitcoin, all of them are good at transferring value. They're not so good at handling data. That's why we need a slightly different solution when it comes to handling data and still keeping it auditable. And those use cases will be more about zero knowledge proofs, hashing of documents and so on. To give a very simple example, in our case, we do KYC before people are on a blockchain, but their data is still private. So you can't put somebody's Aadhaar number on a public blockchain. But you want to keep them honest. So you want to hash the PAN number, Aadhaar number, put that hash on the blockchain. and that wallet ID is associated with that hash. At the backend, some DApp will map the name and the Aadhaar number and PAN. So you keep them honest, and yet you keep the privacy. So that's like a data use case, if you will.
Okay, Vikramji, there is a perception in the industry that a wait and watch attitude towards adopting this technology. Why is this perception formed, and why there is no mass adoption of technology happening?
So I would say for any technology, again touching the same thing, what I just reiterated. Two factors are very important. One is like the degree to which any technology is new to the world, novelty, and the second is the ecosystem support required for any technology to kind of like have the mass adoption. So, for example, like the compliance, the regulations are the biggest barrier to the adoption. Though I'm not blaming any government or anything, they are right at their own level because they are taking very calculated stand. But if you look at like the sandbox, the Gift City initiative which has been taken, and the moment you take away that kind of a restriction, the barrier of compliance, you can see that mass adoption start happening. Like for example, JP Morgan has started settling US dollar from the Gift City under the Gift City initiative. Similarly, we have done one platform wherein like we are tokenizing the real world assets, and that platform is also registered under the Gift City initiative. So ecosystem support is very much required for any kind of like technology to get to the mass scale. And the moment you solve that problem, that adoption happens. I will also quote one more example wherein most of the enterprises struggle, like where should they start from, right? Even like if they are able to kind of like have an answer to the ecosystem support or maybe the regulation side, or maybe kind of like having a company which is set up maybe in a like a crypto-friendly jurisdiction, or maybe which can allow them to do experiment, right? But what is the next step for them? So they need some hand-holding. I think the evangelists like Prasanna ji and like the people sitting on this forum. So that kind of like awareness has to be there. So how we can take that technology to the masses, right? So I mean we are doing like NFTs for Skoda Autos India. So they were not aware about it. They don't knew like how it can be done. So we kind of hand-holded them right from the beginning to the final stages, and which will be launching like I would say like this month only. So again, summing up like the degree to which the application is novel, and the complexity and the ecosystem support required is very much important.
So see, as Vikramji said, it's a foundational tech. And it's not like a smartphone came in the market and you will go and buy the smartphone and disrupt your life, right? The way it has happened in 2007-8, Android came and iOS phone came, and there is a huge adoption immediately. Blockchain is a foundational tech. It comes and changes your complete architecture, changes the processes, changes every other thing. And go back in any bank or healthcare, you have to change the process. It's all compliance, it's all things. And nobody will say, yes, let's do it tomorrow itself. The way Bitcoin operates or the way CBDC operates, right? Which operates without intermediary between. Now, the way we have created architecture since last 30-40 years, you cannot go back and challenge. Let us remove trade finance or let us remove all these systems all of a sudden. Because we are already invested. So what is happening? Like, let us do experiments around satellite system, like CBDC satellite system. We will not change the core. Core eventually will change because we have invested so much heavily there. That's one angle to look at why adoption is not happening. But pure play tomorrow, if you say nothing is there, let's build blockchain-based banking. Certainly we have done in Bitcoin. We can do something which is enterprise blockchain, definitely. Another challenge is the technology itself. Although as a concept we say it is very secure, very scalable, very hack-proof, but on the other side, very complex to manage, complex to configure. There are other, if you're not configured properly, it is insecure. That's another challenge to look at adoption. Third, the way we have web developers on .NET, databases, and so many experts, and look at how many blockchain developers or blockchain experts we have. And even if they are available, they comes with a 3x, 4x salary, right? I think educational where there are less of courses, like it has not become a norm, like a mechanical engineering or computer science engineering or some subject. We need to create that skill set also around the third and fourth. Government is not picking up unless there is a pressure of something like COVID. We have to really knock off. we cannot really knock off all these processes which we have created so far. Slowly, we are looking at G20 or collaboration around tokenization, so on. And it's the way, at least noise is there, right? So I think this noise will bring on lot of use cases around this. So I think while every bank or every company has their own journey, some of them are at third stage who understand blockchain, but many of them are at stage 0. Why I need blockchain, right? Where you have to go back and teach them and tell them within your organization, these are these 2-dimensional process or 3-actor process which can come onto consortium. That is the challenge. Blockchain is not a challenge. Challenge is around bringing people, bringing consortium, bringing that data governance among all these like-minded parties. That is the challenge, and I think the way pace is there, I think it took for at least 18 years to bring on UPI kind of ecosystem since we are thought of. I think it is happening within 4 or 5 years now because of blockchain. Pace is quite huge, the way research is happening, the way we see a lot of layer 1 platforms, layer 2 platforms, polygons and are coming, and they are giving some opportunity. Let us change the world we have seen in Web 2 world to the Web 3.0. While there are challenges, I would say, people have understood it's a foundational tech and it has to work cohesively with other technologies so that all these pillars which are the challenges will surpass very easily. I think government bringing their own national strategy, and that to not one government, but many governments are now working in tandem, in closely together. Look at CBDC, at least 90 plus or 100 plus countries working. And while they are working in a collaboration how cross-border will happen. So I think in my view, while there are challenges, pace is huge on research, and we'll see the world with the blockchain next 5 to 6 years, as Colonel Inderjeet said. And if we will not do it, there is an alternate mechanism which will come and say, banks, you have to change. Because we are DeFi companies, we are already changing. And who are these DeFi companies? Being backed by millennials. They will come and enforce regulators to work on this. That is why we see RBIs or SEBI are coming, or IFSCs coming up with this kind of a structure. Because it is a push which is coming from a community. Imagine world without any community, without any social media, world is going on. But today there is a huge pressure on regulator, government also to adopt these ticks. While we have these challenges, I think pace is huge. And certainly India Blockchain Forum and APIARY, and there are many more initiatives which are really fueling for a right acceleration, at least for making India as a blockchain capital. Yeah.
With this, we'll open house for questions from the audience, please.
And stealth of wealth, which has happened due to the blockchains and all. So when a typical MSME who's already very resource constrained in terms of the spendings, trying to think of going global with usage of these technologies, and then the kind of a vulnerabilities he sees around the cyber securities and a lot of unsettled gray areas, then the only hope they have is that their sovereign power, that is their respective central governments, would come up with some kind of a infrastructure kind of a solution, so that much of those nuances of cyber security or other kind of a protocols which are much needed to take care of hygienes are no longer issues, and they can just focus on doing the business as they are supposed to. So on that regard, given that there are people at an India Blockchain Forum and the national level blockchain agenda, how would you see this problem? What is the path ahead where the central governments can come in and create the solutions for us?
So I'll just take the first part, which is whether government is going to step in and build the infra for small scale industries to leverage the advantages of blockchain. So yes, government is thinking on those lines, and SL blockchain framework has been made primarily to address this issue, wherein businesses will basically be availing services, and entrepreneurs and startups will build solutions for the mass, based on the basic infrastructure the government is going to set. So that part is already being addressed by the government. And
I'll just add one thing. When we started as MSMEs to adopt internet or tech-based services, right, we didn't go to internet banking on day one. We went to setting up a website, as somebody said in the previous panel. And then we went to handling our login and password carefully. We knew then how to withstand phishing attacks and so on. Now we know reasonably well. But we went through that evolution. And in the meantime, what was standing between us and the hackers were banks, which were tightly regulated, and the government through RBI did tell them to do XYZ things, before those solutions were made available to individuals and MSMEs. In a similar vein, for adoption of blockchain in the financial context, we will need handholding by established institutions. It pains me to say that it might push back some of the innovation, but that's a price to pay for avoiding loss for a common person, common man, right? Because in a blockchain context and a crypto context in particular, if you lose your private key, you lose everything. There's nobody on the face of earth who can bring it back for you. People have lost vast sums of money because they lost their private keys. So that's an important thing. But just like the website, we could actually get used to the website and then move to internet banking. Here too, you can get used to the data-oriented use cases of blockchain. We're talking about traceability and talking about meta registry and land records and so on, before we come to value-oriented use cases, which are far more dangerous. Nobody's going to steal data. I mean, they might hack data of saying this came from this farm and not that farm, but that's not going to change your life. Whereas if you lose like 1 crore of rupees sitting in your bank account because a digital CBDC wallet was hacked, that's not ideal. So ideally, the current system will help in the transition. We're not going to see MetaMask-based CBDC wallets tomorrow, and that's for the better.
I think your question, which was typically around SME and MSME, look at how MSME or SME were operating before GST 16, right? And look at how they were operating before smartphones. And look at what all adoptions, tallies, and all these platforms are brought in. And why do we need to have blockchain? Why? Because we are building a lot of marketplaces. GST coming on blockchain will be a miracle, the way I interact with those bodies. Look at ONDC, certainly is going to come on blockchain, and which will bring on a lot of momentum for SMEs or MSMEs. Look at account aggregator, which will give an adoption for lending for this SMEs and MSMEs. You don't require blockchain for SMEs or MSMEs without a proper use case and benefit. Blockchain will come inherently to create that trust in that marketplace. Look at that. And whenever we come, we'll come up with regulator banks which sits in a glass houses, and they know how to really protect themselves in glass houses. And typically it's the evolution we have seen, right? And that's how those norms will keep coming. So not primarily why and how we'll do these business models. So look at what was happening for them, that kind of a segment 20 years before, now and ahead. Cross-border payment, cross-trade, right? So I think these are the things where blockchain AI will come together along with the right regulation. That's how the question should have been framed.
Okay, one more question, please. Yeah.
From time to time, we know that so much data has been leaked. So do you think, take Aadhaar out of the purview, get GST for everyone, because it's good and service tax. So everybody is just doing two services. Either they're providing good or either they're providing services. So if we just dissolve IT Act and get GST for everyone, then corruption can be handled. What do you think so?
So it's like this, I brought it out earlier. Blockchain is hackable. Anything which is a code, which is a hackable. Even if it is the Aadhaar and we know the vulnerabilities, it's hackable. Remember this. And we have seen the hacks happening all over, right? We have seen the hacks happening on the oil and gas company. We see every day the cyber attacks happening on the banks. They don't stop. The hackers are not going to stop. They're going to do their job. And it's all going to be there. So we are not going to do away with the hack attacks. We are not going to be going to do away with the phishing attacks which are happening. They will all be there, right? Blockchain is giving you some kind of a data integrity, what we are talking about. We're talking of immutability, transparency, scalability. Those are the advantages which we are there. That's what we are leveraging, right? Yeah.
All right, with this, we wrap up the panel discussion. Thank you for being such a nice audience. Thank you, Business World. A big round of applause for the panelists, please. Thank you.